The argument for abolishing the income tax makes sense when you consider the following. The income tax provides for not one service in government. Not one wage, school, road, hospital, salary, or program is paid for by the income tax. The roads are paid for by gas taxes. Education is paid for by property taxes. The military is paid for by legal corporate income tax. Hospitals and healthcare are paid for by lotteries and excise taxes on alcohol and cigarettes. City infrastructure is paid for by violation tickets, fines, and fees. The goods and service tax, along with provincial and state taxes, pay for the majority of other services we enjoy. And so they should, as they are mandatory taxes applied to almost everything we buy. Income tax, however, applies only to paying the interest on the national debt, nothing else. The debt never goes down, and some people wonder why income tax feels like perpetual slavery. It literally is. Think about it. Money not paid to the government as income tax, where it subsequently goes to private bankers as profit, will inevitably be spent on some sort of good or service that will still be taxed. So it's not as if removing income tax, allowing us all to earn and keep more money, and abolishing the national debt would wreck our nations. If anything, they could become prosperous once more. However, if we like the concept of half the wealth being owned by less than 1% of the population, I guess we'll just have to keep things the way they are. Thankfully, there are groups who are not only trying to educate people of these legal shenanigans, but are actively in court themselves, advocating, defending, and letter writing. Around the world today, many activist groups have been popping up. A lot of these have been focusing specifically on the freedom movement, such as Canada's Think Free organization, and also the Elizabeth Ann Elaine Society, who are advocating going back to sovereignty status, firing the government, and becoming what is recognized as a free man on the land, a designation whereby an individual is recognized no longer as a person in law or a natural person, but a free human living on land, not bound by any act or statute, nor any governing body or corporate entity. Robert Arthur Menard explains how he went through the process.
In my research, I found that people used to use notices of understanding and intent and claims of right all the time. If there was a conflict, if they wanted to avoid conflict or ensure that if there was a conflict, they came out on top, they would serve what was called the notice of understanding and intent and then the claim of right. You do that now with the government. You create a document that expresses your understanding, expresses your intent, what your actions are, and then you claim the right to do that. You go through the notarial process and you serve notice to them and you give them a chance to dispute. If they don't dispute, then the notary crafts a document saying they were served, they had a chance to dispute. They didn't, he wins. So it's a very simple process. It's as easy as saying to the host of a house, hey buddy, it's time for me to leave, I'm leaving, have a good day.
Totally eliminate the corporate rule and get back to rule by the people who are prepared to change our system so that there's an accountability that goes right back to the people, where people can even recall their MPs if they don't do as they promised to do, and a whole restructuring of the apparatus of government, the officials and the bureaucrats who work in there, who right now are accountable and serve the interests of the corporate elite rather than the interest of the people of Canada, not the government of Canada, but the people of Canada. We should go back to requiring them to take an oath of allegiance to serve the common good and to do their public duty. Those are things that can be done and should be done. And so it's a question of getting back in and taking control and reasserting ourselves. It can be done.
There's many solutions in commerce. There's many movies that offer even much better solutions than that. But the bottom line is we got to stop printing money and debt, because what's it cost to print a piece of paper?
Now, though there are no silver bullets to defeating an entity as large as the governing corporate system, knowing your human rights and being aware of the mechanisms through which others try and control you can help prevent your consent from being obtained due to ignorance. It's a good idea to always question when somebody wants you to sign something. You never know when it may come back to bite you in the ass. Using money and commerce law as a 1-2 punch against the vast majority of us who lack understanding due to our ignorance is a practice that has existed for centuries. As our collective human capacity for intelligence and understanding increases, so too does the complexity of both the monetary system and the legal system. It is now at the point where, inside a court, the judge will claim the power to render irrelevant any and all arguments put forth by any person choosing to appear in court. We are operating under a de facto system. However, there are those who are taking the time to do their homework and research how to speak back in this foreign legalese language. The results have been mixed, but incredibly interesting to say the least. The important thing to remember is that these are supposed to be our servants, and they have just tricked us into thinking we work for them. We must remember who we are and who we are not whenever we interact with any facet of the system, because if enough of us collectively remember and educate, then the system changes with that expansion of awareness. We the people have the power to effect mass positive change, but we must communicate and take the time to understand and become aware of what is really going on around us. We have been conditioned to fear going to court, fear encounters with any officer or any agency of the government, to fear what this person might do or fear what the planet might do. We even fear letters that we receive in the mail. We cannot live this way anymore, because we are being bullied into a permanent control system. It appears that law is one area where these controlling elites are especially vulnerable to an educated public. It could be the avenue where we the people truly regain our human rights and freedoms. Be sure to visit thecauseofeffect.com to watch free videos about income tax and court victories, as there are actually many successes, but they get no mainstream media coverage. These free videos are not easy to find otherwise, as the elites want you to feel you have no chance of winning, and that they have a 100% successful conviction rate against tax protesters. Both of their claims are patently false.